Dandridge, you have asked for a few minutes alone with me before the defendant joins us.
Yes, ma'am.
You say you are here to determine if you finally found your biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
You claim you were recently given the name of someone you believe is that man, though you've never laid eyes on him before.
Yes, ma'am.
He's waiting outside the courtroom, and you will meet him for the first time in just a few moments. You have petitioned the court to administer a DNA test to determine if he is, in fact, your long-lost father.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Dandridge, I know this is emotional for you. So take me back. You've never known who your biological father was growing up?
No, ma'am, I didn't. I was raised to believe that my sister's dad was my dad. I was like around 9 or 12. I was old enough to know how to read. And I found adoption papers stating that my dad wasn't my dad, that I believed was my dad.
You found adoption papers indicating that the man you thought was your father had in fact adopted you?
Yes, ma'am. Because I tried as a youth to ask my mom, and she was never forthcoming. She was always, I don't know who your dad is, or he didn't want you, you know. She was just mean to me.
So let's fast forward a bit. Take me to the point where you started the search for your father. At some point, you got a name. How did you get that name?
Roughly 3 months ago, I posted on Facebook. This status may hurt some people's feelings, but I really want to know who my dad is. And my mom, she got on there, and she told me that I was a liar and that I never asked who my dad was and just threw his name at me. And then after she gave me that name, she told me to never contact her again.
Would you please escort Mr. Sigmund into the courtroom?
Mr. Sigmund, come on in.
Mr. Sigmund, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Oh, that's beautiful.
I cannot believe you were standing in front of my face.
Mr. Sigmund, can you describe for the court your initial reaction?
I was in shock because I was told when I was younger I was sterile, that I couldn't have kids. But I was at the right place at the right time with her mother down in Florida.
So, you did know her mother?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did have a relationship with her mother?
Back in 1987, I was a drifter. I was probably around 28 years old. I drifted down into Florida, down the boardwalk. I met this lady. She tapped me on the shoulder, which was her mother. We spent a lot together. The beach life. We traveled. We run the beaches. We jump fences. We had sex on the beach, sex in the pools, and...
Well, I don't know if her daughter needed to hear all that, but... I know this will be very emotional for you both either way. If you'd like to sit down, Ms. Dandridge. All right. DNA Diagnostics has prepared these results, and they are as follows. In the case of Dandridge versus Sigmund, when it comes to Ms. Cassandra Dandridge, Mr. Sigmund, you are not her father. Sit her down, Mr. Sigmund. Just put her down.
Okay,
There's no way I've gone through too much. He was supposed to be my dad. I'm never gonna know.
Oh, goodness gracious. Honey, oh my goodness.
I can't breathe.
I know. You just take deep breaths. Here, take your jacket off. Take your jacket off. Just take deep breaths. Jerome, can you get her some water, please?
I know
My heart is so broke.
You're suing your husband, Mr. Baker, for a paternity test to prove that he's your 19-year-old daughter, Vanisha's biological father. You claim you're hoping this DNA test will fix your family. Mr. Baker, you claim you're not the father because your wife admitted that not one, but two other men could possibly be Vanisha's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Graves, so how is your marriage in turmoil exactly?
I've been dealing with him for 22 years now. When we got together this last time, I feel like he kind of punishing me and my daughter. You know,
Punishing you how?
like the way he treats us. You know, I mean, he's not the man that he should be for the family.
What is he punishing you for?
We had a DNA for my first daughter. It was 22 years ago, and he took care of her for a whole year. And I was always honest. I always told him there was a possibility for her as well. Oh, well, you know, I was loose back then, you know, it is what it is.
So you feel like that's our problem?
Oh, wait a minute. To take me back to the story, you're saying 22 years ago you had a daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And for a year he thought it was his biological daughter.
Yes.
But you were honest that it may or may not be. Ultimately, you had a DNA test and it was determined that in fact he was not the biological father of your older daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is the reason why you believe he has doubt concerning your daughter, Vanisha.
Correct.
And part of the reason why you believe he's trying to punish you both?
I mean, I'm pretty sure he was hurt from the first results, you know.
So
but
you
like,
mean tough love is like punishing you?
you don't just come off showing tough love to a child
But if that's
that
all
you
I
really
know,
don't know anything
that's all
about.
I know, Ms. Graves. I never had a father. I really don't know how to love, you understand? So,
Well,
I mean, if that's
that's
what
not
I
my
know, I mean,
fault.
I understand that, and that's your problem. You're not trying to understand your fault. I'm not saying it's your fault.
Well, I'd like to understand it a little more. Explain, how does he treat your daughter? Why are you saying, what is this tough love you're talking about?
He's saying tough love, but he cusses her. I mean, he's rude.
Mr. Baker, why are you cursing a 19-year-old girl? What is this behavior?
I mean, verbal words come out due to the fact that, you know, hey, she felt like I hurt her. So, you
Well,
know,
he does me the same
So
way.
what I'm
That's
trying to
the
understand
problem.
is, Ms. Graves, you believe this treatment, the way that he interacts with your daughter is based upon his doubt.
Yes.
What are your doubts specifically as it
like I
relates
say,
to her?
it's not just me. It's two other guys, you know. And the timing, yeah, you might say that we were here and there, but at the same time, the timing, it could match up and it could not match up.
The two other men, how did you find out about these
I mean,
two
she
other
told
men?
me about them. Ms. Graves told me about
What
it.
did she tell you?
She said that it could be a possibility that two other guys that she's involved with could be the father of Miss Curl. And I was like,
And
you
so,
know,
Ms. Graves, you did admit to him that there were two other potential fathers.
Yes, ma'am.
So as you tell him to step up and get the DNA test, did you ever test any of the other men?
No.
So why do you know for sure he's the father?
Back then, when it was a
Back then
Halloween.
when?
It was a Halloween party.
we say Halloween. How are you gonna just say Halloween and you were involved with other men? So you're gonna put
I know
Halloween
when it was.
specifically-
You don't know when the party
I'm just
was.
saying, but
I
you're
know.
All right,
specifically
Mr.
saying
Baker. In the case of Graves, Carroll versus Baker, when it comes to 19-year-old Vanisha Carroll, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Baker, you are not her father.
You're my daughter no matter what. Okay? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. I just want to... I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
I would say a few words that I hope would help a family that's in your position and any family that comes into this courtroom. Help them move forward, because that's what this is about. But I could not have said it better than what you just said to your family. That was love. Mr. Peterson, just 1 month ago, your world came crumbling down when your wife, Mrs. Peterson, revealed she had been keeping a secret, that your 22-year-old daughter, LaJoya Jackson, may not be your biological daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Mrs. Peterson, you admit that 22 years ago, during the window of conception, you had sex with another man, Mr. Beckham, but you want to prove today in court that Mr. Peterson is Ms. Jackson's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Peterson, explain to the court what happened just a month ago.
I work third shift, so I'm not at home a lot, but I came home, went to sleep, got up the next morning, not expecting anything out of the ordinary. My daughter, LaJoya, and her mother, my wife, Latia, they were outside talking, and I got up to go outside to say good morning, and before I could say anything, I heard LaJoya say, "What? Milton might not be my dad?" I looked at my wife and I said, "What is she talking about?" And she ignored me. I asked her again. She kind of teared up and she walked off. I didn't want to start an argument or a confrontation, so I just went on back in the house and waited for her to calm down. But she finally told me about 2 days later that there was somebody in the past.
And Ms. Peterson, do you remember this conversation?
Yes, Your Honor.
And those were the words you uttered to your daughter, that Mr. Peterson may not be her biological father?
Yes, they are, Your Honor.
So up until this point, Mr. Peterson, you had no doubt that LaJoya was your daughter?
None at all whatsoever. We have so much in common. I never, ever would have thought that this would be going on. Never.
And you and Mrs. Peterson, you've been together for how long? 23 years?
Yes.
And married for 13 of those years?
Yes.
So this is a long-standing relationship?
Yes.
And you never knew?
No.
You've kept this secret this long, Ms. Peterson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why?
I didn't want to harm my family or break what I built.
When we first got together, I thought she was a virgin. I asked her about past relationships. She told me that they were not sexually active, but she did have other boyfriends before me. So that's why I'm where I'm at now.
And that's why you had no question?
Right.
But in fact, you were not a virgin when you met him, Ms. Peterson?
No, I wasn't, Your Honor.
So, LaJoya, when you first heard this news, what were you thinking?
I've had some suspicion for almost a year now. We were out of state, we just moved here, and a guy just randomly came up to my door and was like, "Oh, your mom told me where you live at. I'm your father. I went to jail and your mom said another guy was your father because she didn't want nobody not to be there for you." When I first came to my mom about it, she was like, "Oh, that's an old friend of mine, but he's like not right in the head. He's funny. I don't know why he says that or whatever." She kind of brushed it off, but I said it in front of my father, Mr. Peterson. I said it in front of him, but she was like kind of trying to quiet it off, like, "Don't talk about it right now, you know?"
When it comes to 22-year-old LaJoya Jackson, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Peterson, you are not her father.
Oh my God. Are you serious? Really, Mom? Every time, though. Like, I came and asked you, just tell me before we go, do you know? Oh, I know he's the father. I know. I thought you knew, Mom. I thought you knew.
I'm sorry. I did think he was your father, or I wouldn't be here.
I'm so very sorry, LaJoya. I'm so very sorry. I know how much you all wanted a different result.
Yep.
I walked out of here with no father, Your Honor. Nobody. I don't have nothing now.
I'm still gonna be here. I ain't going nowhere.
I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
No.
Please. I'll find him.